So short story, college, you know that tuition is due. It comes up every semester. And so, you know, every year I applied for scholarships and loans that help cover the cost of tuition, books, housing, all of that. What that came with being in college. And so there was one particular semester where I did not get all of the funds that I would normally have gotten on time. So I got myself on a payment plan to allow time to pay off, or to allow time for the monies that I would normally expect to come in to cover the cost of my school, of my tuition. So month 1, paid that off, no problem. Month 2, paid that off, no problem. The monies came in on time. Month 3, I still had an outstanding balance, waiting for one more, you know, check to come in that would cover the cost of my tuition. Get to 2 weeks before the payment is due and no scholarship money shows up. And it was unusual at the time, because normally I would have already had the check and not needed to be on a payment plan. But for some reason this particular year and time, you know, the check hadn't come in for whatever reason. We get to a week before the tuition is due, still hadn't seen the money. So I get concerned, you know, Jesus, like, I've already received all of my other scholarship money. I've maxed out my loans. We don't have this particular amount out of pocket right now to pay. What do we do? And it was this moment where I was challenged to trust God and my faith. And my dad is always telling me, always asking me, you know, to ask God what to do whenever you have questions, or whenever you're, you know, just to have faith. But truly, this was the moment for me to actually trust what I had put my faith in from the beginning of my walk with Christ. So I started, you know, praying, and I asked God, you know, to help me, you know, help me provide. Like, Jesus, you said that you would provide for me, so I'm trusting you to provide the funds that I need, whether it comes through this scholarship that I'm waiting for or somewhere else. You know, Lord, you know, help us to be able to cover the cost of the tuition, because you didn't bring me here to not, you know, pay the tuition. I'm already almost halfway through the semester. So Lord, you know, help provide. So we get to the day before. Still hadn't seen funds yet. I wake up in the morning. I usually start my day looking at my phone, and I see the two Bible apps that I have widgets for on my home screen, and both of them pop up the same scripture that comes from Deuteronomy chapter 8 verses 17 through 18, and it reads, "And beware lest you say in your mind and heart, my power and the might of my hand have got me this wealth. But you shall earnestly remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant, which he swore to your fathers, as it is this day." And I thought it was very ironic that both of the Bible apps, 2 different publishers, 2 different developers, popped up the same scripture at the same moment on the same day. So then something tells me, go check your account. Not like that, but I get a feeling to check my account. And when I check my account, I see a 0 balance. So I owe nothing else. And then I also see that I'm getting a refund to help cover the rest of my college costs. And I'm amazed in this moment, because it was this moment that challenged me to trust God to be my provider with everything that he's given me, to help me to be a good steward, to lean on him and not trust in my own effort, in my own doing, to provide for my needs, but know that he is God and he is the one that gives me everything that I need, and that he is the source of it all. And truly, as I meditated on these verses, I stopped skipping lightly over the wording of it, because this is what convicted me. And even now to this day, as I continue to trust God with what he has given me, and, you know, with my possessions, with my wealth, whatever opportunity, whatever time, whatever situation God has given me in this world, in this lifetime, it has helped. That one moment of conviction has helped me to trust God in everything with what he's given me. And so the wording is very important, and it was very important for me to understand what God was saying in this verse. And particularly, it comes at a time of distress where God's people are reeling to be delivered. They're really wanting to be delivered, and they're really wanting provision from God, or they get the provision from God right after they've been delivered from Egypt and having to, walk through the desert for 40 years because of their lack of trust for God all that time. And they're now at the promised land, at a place where God has provided for them. God has given them Canaan. God has given them wealth. God has given them access to the things that they were trusting him for all along, or God wanted them to trust him for. And this verse just basically brings us to the place where God is reminding them, this is who I am for you. And he says, and beware, take caution. Be aware, be mindful, take caution that you don't say in your mind and in your heart. Now, it's one thing for us to just say with our words what we think or what we mean or what we have, what's inside of us. But more so, be careful what you think. Be careful what you position yourself to believe. Be careful what comes out of your mouth as a result of what you believe or what's in your heart. And in that, being careful that you say in your mind, so not simply with your words, but also with your intentions and with your purpose, that my power and the might of my hand have gotten me this wealth. Be careful not to say that, because it is God. Earnestly, with sincere and intense conviction, do what? Remember, bring to the forefront of your mind and thoughts. Remember what? That for one, he is the Lord, your God. It's important for us to recall that he's God for us. This is like, he's sovereign. He is almighty. He is the provider. He is the creator of the world. And that as the creator of the world, as the source of everything that we need, it is he who gives us the power to get wealth. It is he who provides. It is he who puts us in a position to be stewards over what he has given us. And that the purpose for his provision is for us to establish his covenant in the earth. So God granting these things to us is not simply for our pleasures. It's not simply for us to just enjoy them and consume them, because that leads to us relying on them or thinking that it is our power that gives us the ability to gain wealth, when it is truly God. Be careful not to even think it, much less say it within your heart and within your mind and out of your mouth, that it is your power that got you this wealth. But to earnestly remember and recall that it is God who gave you the ability to get wealth for the sake of establishing his covenant in the earth. There's so much purpose behind the scripture. The conviction that it brings about with the Israelites, with God's people who are rescued out of some dire circumstances, who took their rescue for granted, who didn't see true deliverance until God actually brought them to the promised land. Blessed are those who see the deliverance while they are not at the promised land yet. But if it takes you seeing, to believe, knowing that it is God who did that for you, knowing that it is God who provides, knowing that it is God who is the source of everything that you have been given stewardship over. And this is how we regard our possessions, our wealth, our what we've been entrusted with. That is how we steward that. That is how we take care of what God has given us. We thank God. We turn to God with grateful hearts and in appreciation, and not just appreciation, but dedicating those things right back to him, giving to him of what he's given to us. Now, while we cannot pay God, and while we cannot give our possessions to God, what we can do is dedicate them for the sake of the kingdom and the work of the kingdom in the earth. So that is how God helps us to manage our money, to manage our possessions and our finances and things that he's given us. But he wants us to remember that it is not our doing. It is all his. So join me next time for part 2 in the next video, as we talk about more about how we can trust God, the practical things that we can do to trust God with what we've been given. Until next time, bye.